Now that the NBA season is over, we're gonna do some awards. We're gonna do earlier. I don't remember what episode it was, but we did we had a conversation about the first team, All NBA, all those different types of things, and we just, everybody had their own different opinions on it. Some agreed with it, some disagreed. Some people felt like some people were snubbed. Some people felt like some people shouldn't be on the list. But so we decided if we don't like it, let's make our own. So we decided everybody makes their own. Right now, we're just going to go off of a first team, a second team, a six-man, a defensive player, and who was the most lackluster as well as an MVP, and who is also your favorite duo to see. And this is just all off the playoffs only. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it first. So, the MVP. It was a very tough decision, but I gotta give it to the Joker, man. He just really balled out. I really wanted to give it to Jimmy, but that game, 5 or whatever, he just shrunk too much. Like, he let it slip out of his hands. All playoffs, I would have given it to Jimmy the way he played. But anywho, I'll give it to Joker. First team, De'Aaron Fox, Jimmy, Jason Tatum, LeBron, and Jokic. That's my first 5. Starting 5 with that. Second team, Jamal Murray, Trae Young, Hachimura, Gordon, and AD. Then, going into my 6-man, I got to give it to Malik Monk. That man was balling off the bench, just coming in straight up, shooting them threes on the Warriors. Defensive player, I'll give it to Vanderbilt. He kind of helped shut the Warriors, and LeBron and them got past them. They did, but without Vanderbilt's defense and energy, I don't know if they would have been able to really shut the Warriors down like that. Because I feel like that was a series that I really did not expect the Lakers to win. But I don't really have a duo. It took me a while to get it, and I just could never find one that I really liked and stood out. But for lackluster, I got to give it to Donovan Mitchell, because when he signed with the Cavaliers this offseason, the way they were already playing before he got there were Garland and what's the dude's name? Mobley and stuff like. I was like, okay, this is a good young team. He's going to get over there. They're going to ball out. And then they just get bounced out by the Knicks. Not just bounced out. It's okay if you lose in the first round. But to the Knicks, that kind of had me like, come on, Donovan. You could have been it. Why you ain't? Maybe he was hurt. Maybe I don't remember. The playoffs, I forgot. The NBA playoffs started like 2 months ago. So maybe he was hurt. But to me, it's just like, where was he? Because I was looking back at the record, and I was like, they lost. They really couldn't really get past the Knicks, man. They lost in like 5 or 6. It was like, come on. Anywho, yeah, that's mine. Let me know. How do you guys feel about my list?
Hey, I'm rocking with
I
it.
like it.
Honestly. Shoot, I think it's gonna be coming a unanimous with the MVP discussion. I ain't gonna hold.
Yeah, I think that.
I think
he's gonna get unanimous.
I was thinking. I was like, is there other option for MVP? Did anybody else have another option for MVP? Or
I picked Jimmy
I mean, if
my MVP.
Who?
I thought about D Book, but I couldn't give it to
What?
him. I ain't gonna hold. D Book was 80% from the field,
for
50% from
MVP
three.
though?
You can look at that man really going crazy
For MVP and got bounced in the first round.
Second round.
What was second round? Ain't
Or
it?
second? Okay, second round. That's
still
that's the same thing. That's the same thing.
Still the same, but gotta give it to Jokic. That was my second vote.
Well, I say, my MVP, I had Joker, of course. My 6-man, I had Bruce Brown. I felt like he just played a huge part of keeping that team in the majority of every game when they were down or when they were looking they weren't looking like they were the championship team. Bruce Brown came in and gave that spark off the bench instantly. My second place would probably been Malik Monk, but I feel like Bruce Brown was a little bit more game changer. Defensive player, I had Jimmy Butler, because it seemed like literally everybody he was guarding, he either stole the ball from or he just stopped them. So they was really good. And I felt like he just made a huge difference. And that Miami team just had a great defense set. And Vanderbilt was great too. But I felt like Jimmy took it for me. Disappointment, I agree. Donovan. He was literally in that offseason, it was like either he was supposed to go to the Knicks, but he ended up going to Cleveland. And then when he showed up in Cleveland in the playoffs, he did not show up. He just disappeared. He fizzled out, and I don't even remember him even being in the playoffs. I think he was healthy the whole entire time. He just sucked the whole time. My first team I had based off the playoffs, I had Curry, Jamal Murray, Tatum, Butler, and Jokic and Joker. And first team. On my second team, I had Brunson, Booker, Durant, uh, Jaylen Brown because he actually did show up a little bit till to the end. He just looked like trash. And then center, I had a hard thought on it because I couldn't decide either between Embiid or Bam, and I just went ahead with Bam because he was more consistent. But that was my team. What's y'all thoughts on that?
Can you say that second team again?
Second team, I had Jalen Brunson, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Jaylen Brown, and Bam.
I like it. I did have
I
some
like
trouble
it.
too with the centers. I had some trouble with the centers. I was like, Then I had to remind myself Aaron Gordon balled out in the finals, so I was like, okay, I could just throw him in there. So I like your list. Jalen Brunson is who I forgot about too, because I was like, there was somebody on the Knicks that balled out. So I did like that list. Who else? I did debate. It was between Monk and Bruce Brown too, as well for the 6-man. So I had some pretty. Who was your lackluster?
Devin.
Disappointing?
Sorry, not Devin Booker. Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm glad somebody agrees
he
with
disappeared.
that. I thought I was crazy too when I thought
he
of
lose in the playoffs. That's how bad he was.
It's sad, and nobody talks about it. People are roasting everybody else who had at least a decent playoffs.
Because he really disappeared first round. Like you didn't even think to mention him.
He was literally in and out.
So
literally, they was in and out.
I think it's because he also comes from like a Utah, which was a smaller market team. So it's like he never was in the spotlight heavy anyway. People knew him and knew he was great, but it's like he never was on a team that was very like, he's not like on a Memphis Grizzlies. It's going to trash talk. So it's like he's very humble. So I guess people didn't want to roast him because I don't know. Me personally,
I mean, it was really between him and dang, I literally just went blank. Julius Randle. But I'm used to Julius Randle being being a disappointment in playoffs. So it's not.
That's like saying, "Oh, I wanted DeAndre Ayton to play." Come on, Julius Randle and DeAndre Ayton. You should know at this point now, they ain't making no noise no more. But yeah, I like your list. All right, who's next? Kool-Aid.
Yes, sir. My first team is Stephen Curry. Well, my MVP, Jimmy Butler. My first team is Stephen Curry, Jimmy, Anthony Davis, Joker. My second team is Jamal Murray, Jason Tatum, Katie, Embiid, second team. And then my third team is Jalen Brunson, Kevin Booker, Bam Adebayo, and Eric Gordon for my third team. And then my sixth man, Bruce Brown / Gordon, because it was a tie between. Cause I think they both stepped up and Gordon didn't come off the bench. So yeah, Bruce Brown. And then lackluster and B, he was disappointing to me. I expected way more from him.
I can respect that.
And my
wait, who did you say?
Embiid, my lackluster.
Makes sense.
And then defensive player is KCP. I just feel like he always stepped up and gave them a stop or a steal to swing the momentum back in the Nuggets' favor throughout this playoff. So that's my list.
I like it. I like that list. I don't know the Embiid though. Maybe down the stretch of that Boston series, I was like, but early in the playoffs, he was doing his thing. But I could understand.
Go to the post.
I could understand why you guys put him on the list, though. I could understand.
I don't know, man. And as MVP,
as a big man, be a big man
as MVP,
it was lackluster. That month,
as soon as they get to the finals.
Well, for the past 2 years, Jokic was MVP, but those playoff years weren't the best from him either.
They didn't have Jamal. That man was still balling.
Okay. All right.
he didn't have Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, PJ. You know what I'm saying? They didn't have that. Oh, we need to go get you stars to go get you success. He just kind of went out and did it.
Okay.
Joel, come on now,
Okay, I'll
come
give you
on now.
that.
There was a couple first round exits to Boston. Come on now.
Well, that's all I got to say about his list. Other than that, I like it. I did forget about KD too. I forgot about it.
You got something with all y'all with that second team. I can't believe y'all boys think KD did better than Bron though. But
I didn't put KD. I put Hachimura on my second team before I put KD on it. Shit.
I
Facts.
mean,
low
KD,
key,
it was
low
basically
key.
we said it earlier. LeBron, you know what you're getting
Name.
with LeBron. You're going to get that 27. You know what you're going to get. So it's not like, oh,
Yep.
this is such a surprise. Like we know he's going to get. But those
That's
that I
true.
think his last
I
game
don't know what
when they went against the Denver Nuggets was probably like his best game in the playoffs. Where I'm like, okay, LeBron still got it. That's like usually every other game, it's like, oh, he got 25. Okay, I'm used to him having 25 because that's his
but,
normal. Like it's like, oh snap, I got 25.
but what's the typical argument when it comes down to KD versus Bron? You know, like Bron can do he's Mr. All Around, but KD's the better, more efficient scorer. Even though that shit's been debunked when you actually break it down. But that's what we think about when we come to Kevin Durant. When it came down against like even in the first and second round, bro, he was not efficient. He was getting his points, but it was like him with Bam, like 20, 25 for 25. That's not a good. You're efficient. You're known for being an efficient scorer, yet it take you 25 attempts to get you the same 24 points. That's not a good look.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
first of all, no one
What the
sits
books
there and
got on
tracks how
KD in
many
the
shots
playoffs
he
for
took
being physical.
to get that.
You know what I'm saying?
We talking about the time when he did get it. We talking about when was it like were they up by 15 when he did all
We
those
saw
points?
James
Where
Harden.
this a close game?
We saw James Harden. We didn't see
Huh?
Kevin Durant. That was the book. We saw James Harden go off game one, game two in Boston. We saw that. You saw him drop 45 both games. We didn't see KD do that. We didn't see KD get not
What's your
name over 35.
Rose?
Not even
What's your
close to
teams,
35.
man?
The most was like
What's
34.
your teams? You sitting up here fighting
Hey,
like Skip for
I would
LeBron.
say that's one. Hey, I'm not comparing. I'm just like, damn, though, like, y'all really giving
So
KD a
what's your
lot of
teams
love,
then,
though. You
Rose?
know, said we was a little disappointed, but first team. I know I'm getting into it, man. Don't rush greatness, big dog. Don't rush
You
it.
ain't
We
never
got
been
time,
greatness.
bro. We
Stop
I
got
the cap.
time.
don't.
We got time. Hey, man. When it came out breaking down this list, my first thing I was thinking the best playoff performance overall. So that's Steph, Book, Jimmy, Jokic, and AD. When it came down to the second team, we got Murray, Brunson, Braun, Bam, and for that last center position, I was like, y'all tip, bro. Because for me, Embiid was disappointing, so I refused to put that man on the second team. And you look around the league, bro, not Sabonis, it's Looney. That man was physical the whole time in this whole playoff run, bro. He gave you what he had, and most of those games it was gritty basketball. 90s basketball for the Warriors that
I
helped
like
them
that
get to
pick.
where they
That's a
got.
good pick.
You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? So
That
that's
is
why I put
good.
Looney at. You know what I'm saying? So MVP unanimous. That's Jokic. We all know that tip. Six man, I was with Jamel. I kind of blow. He took that shit, but Malik Monk, man, God, if someone that was kind of sick that them boys lost in the first round, bro, Monk was on fire, bro. But hey, six man for me. That's defense, AD. Because when it came down to it, even they didn't put up offensive points every game. When it came down to defense, I'm looking at the stats early when I was doing my research. When it came down to a lot of things defensively, AD was first. And it's kind of like, what the fuck? But it was like, damn, he really had that good of a run. And you go look at the games, and like, damn, he really did. He was average, what? I forgot how many blocks a game he averaged, like 3, 4, some shit like that. That was first in the Shaq type shit in the playoffs. That's crazy to me. But disappointing, like Cooley, Joel, because, bruh, this was, if there was ever a chance, talking about a window opportunity, laid out for you to come and be through. We've been having this argument for years, Joker versus Joel. You ain't even get to the Eastern Conference Finals, my guy. Yeah, he got hurt, but regardless of that, niggas was hurt all over. We saw Braun still give what he gave when he got swept by Denver. Yup, Joel, we got 18 and 10. We got DeAndre Ayton. But that's my list, though.
Yeah, I understand the list. I understand. I get the Joel thing, guys, but he the injury thing is crazy though. I when Kenneth said, yeah, he got hurt, I feel like we make that excuse for so many players for so many years. Sometimes it's like, how many
Used to be
times
the summer.
can we give you that hurt excuse, whether it's you or your teammates? At this point, it's part of the game, you know. So yeah. Other than that, I
Swear.
like your list. I did. Who was the guy you said earlier? Oh, Looney. I forgot about that. That was a good pick. I like that. I'm surprised nobody
Yeah.
else picked De'Aaron Fox.
I mean, I wanted to, bro, but in terms of guard play and shit between Steph, Book, Murray, and Brunson, it's kind of like
Yeah, it's just not
he
enough
did get
room.
hurt.
It's not enough room because let's be honest, they weren't going to get that far without him. Because of course Malik Monk like was the sixth man, but it's like at the end of the day, De'Aaron Fox is
Swear,
the one that got them dubs, even in Golden State.
I couldn't put him or Sabonis on that bitch. Like I like Sabonis, so like I couldn't put him.
I can't get Sabonis that shit. No.
That man only got his on Sabonis, bro. I gotta
Yeah.
get.
No.
Gotta get.
Sabonis got owned. De'Aaron Fox didn't. He just got outplayed sometimes. But go ahead,
Yeah,
Pat. Go ahead, Pat.
So first team, I got Jamal, I got Brunson, I got Jimmy, I got LBJ, and then I got Joker. For my second team, I got Steph, Harden, Aaron Gordon, Bam, and Tatum. For my sixth man of the year, or sixth man through the playoffs, I got Caleb Martin. I just like the way that man really stepped up all playoffs. He definitely wouldn't have made it without him. Um, and then for MVP, I almost chose Jimmy for that exact same reason because they would have never been in the picture without Jimmy Butler. But I had to go with Joker just because the man averaged darn near triple double, and I mean what he definitely beat the triple double record in terms of like how many inside of a playoff run and consecutive and all that stuff. For defensive player, I got Aaron Gordon, bro. I feel like he always stepped up to the challenge. Anything that they asked for, he stepped up to it, and so that was always pretty good to see. I think that he did a decent job with trying to just slow people down with their scoring and everything, and being effective to the game. Uh, and then for most lackluster, man, I got R.J. Barrett because I really feel like the Knicks could have got over the hump with versus the Heat, but RJ Barrett just not being in the picture and not doing his job. Like I don't even think like I forgot about that basically.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So I got RJ Barrett, kind of like how y'all felt about Donovan Mitchell. You know what I mean? Because I think the same thing happened there. Donovan, they definitely could have beat them. But he just went ghost. I feel like the Knicks could have beat the Heat, but RJ Barrett just disappeared.
Yeah, that was.
And
Yeah, he
Randall
was
hurt.
gone. Yeah, he was gone, man. I feel like with RJ, he is kind of another Hachimura situation where if I think he leaves, he'll have immediate success.
I can see that.
I think he's just not working out there.
What if he
Maybe he
went to
needs
the
to go home.
Pacers?
Maybe he needs to go home. Go to Toronto because I think he's from Canada. Maybe
Yeah.
he's been in the US too long because he went to Duke. I remember that. And now he's been in New York. So it's like you've been in heavily basketball. You've been in like two of the highest expectations of basketball teams if you think about it. New York Knicks have a high expectation, even though, they don't really win. Their expectation is still high because of the amount of people from New York and the amount of culture it has. Duke, one of the most prestigious colleges in basketball of all time. So it's like you've played for both of these two highly expectational organizations. Maybe if you go home to Toronto where they're starting to rebuild, you're with some younger guys too, it could be something new. And then maybe, or if you go out to a team in the West or to the Spurs or just somewhere new where the pressure isn't as big. So I can see that about RJ, but he did definitely not show up. That was kind of sad, but I've never really seen him show up though lately.
Right.
that whole Cavaliers Knicks series was supposed to be a validation for the Knicks for why we picked RJ over Donovan. And that series showed, yeah, we was right
Oh
for picking
yeah.
series. And it goes to show that damn, we're gonna try and count on this young man to take us over the top. We're gonna need him to be able to grow into that. Can he really be the dog of the team? Because Julius can only do so fucking much, especially when we come down to one way pivotal. Like I love Tom, love that nigga Tom, but Jesus Christ, no adjustments in the playoffs. It's fucking crazy.
But
I don't
didn't they
know.
take Jalen Brunson over Donovan Mitchell though instead?
No, they could have they already got Jalen. They could have picked up Donovan. They had made that
Oh, but
trade
they
for him.
just
But
gave RJ more money.
they said, nah, we like RJ too much. They gonna
Oh,
keep him.
oh, they would have had to trade him to get him. Okay, got you. Well, that would hey, I don't know. Well, yeah, because then you would have sent RJ with Colin Sexton out in Utah. If I was Utah, I would have liked that. RJ and Sexton, that would have
Exactly.
been a nice duo.
But for the Knicks, it's like, do we want to risk that? Do we really want to give him up for Donovan?
To
Nah, I
have
think RJ
Jalen
could be.
Brunson and Donovan Mitchell, I would have. Oh, that's stupid for that. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Other than that,
That man.
I like your list, Pat. Solid.
Appreciate it.
Me too, Fat P. Me too, Fat P.
All right, let's get into the next topic. So earlier, before we started recording, we was talking a little bit. Najee and Frank, you said you was getting it. You had this conversation with one of your friends. So go ahead and tell the people the conversation and lead us into the topic that we about to discuss.
Yeah, so it was a conversation that me and Najee and one of our mutual friends had, and we was discussing Dirk Nowitzki versus Giannis Okumpo. First, we started talking about them as players, and then it got into their careers, legacy, talking about how eventually by the time Giannis retires, he gonna have way more accolades than Dirk Nowitzki. But at this point in time, where Giannis is as it stands and where Dirk Nowitzki career holistically, like how they stack up with each other. And I just want to get everybody's opinion.
I ain't gonna hold. You asking me directly on that tip, bro. I'm looking at it like this. Dirk, great offensive player. We were gonna look at it from resume to resume. Great offensive player, got the MVP. He changed the game when it came from the big man being used to fade away, step back. You know what I'm saying? But the book on him, especially when he first came out, yeah, he could score, but you could dog him defensively. Can't do that with G. And if we talk about resume to resume, like, I think G got like what two? He got two MVPs, right? Got a Finals MVP. I don't think Dirk did get his too. It's kind of like they both eye level, but there's no one surpassing each other. He hasn't surpassed Dirk yet. He's on the same level as Dirk already because Dirk had a 20-year career to get that. But at the same time, it's catching up great. He hasn't passed him yet. He's not chasing ghosts. He's not LeBron where he's like, okay, I'm just trying to better myself. I've got achievement to where there's no one else that's done this. If that makes sense. But that's just my take though.
I
Makes
get what you're
sense.
saying. I get what you're saying. Me personally, I'm picking Giannis because I'm not on Juneteenth. I'm not finna pick no white man. I'm just kidding. All right, all right. But no, I do pick Giannis over him any day, all day, no matter the day. But I get the Dirk argument because as a kid growing up, seeing Dirk was a different type of vibe, but just seeing Giannis dominate the way he's dominated over the past couple of years, it just hits a little bit differently. And the play styles are definitely different. Of course, Giannis is a little bit more athletic in terms of like speed with the ball. Dirk might have had like a better post game and a better shooting, but just pure like dunking, I'm picking Giannis. Driving to the basket, I'm picking Giannis. You know what I'm saying? Certain other things. There's certain things I would pick Dirk, certain things I would pick Giannis. But for me personally, what's more important to me and what's more entertaining to me is what Giannis can do over what Dirk can do. So I would definitely pick him. If we're going off accolades, I don't really know a lot of the guys' numbers and accolades sometimes, but to me, it seems like Giannis has a little bit more so far. And I feel like also Dirk didn't really get his stuff until kind of the back end of his career, as to where Giannis is kind of the middle. And now he might start entering his back end in the next 3 to 4 years. So it just depends because it's hard to put up their career since one is over and one is still in the middle. So it's like both arguments. It's like if you say it's Dirk, well, it's like you never know because Giannis still got years left. And if you say it's Giannis, well, you never know because this could be the end for Giannis. So it's like you never know. So, but so far, I'll just pick Giannis.
I love that Giannis is dominant.
I feel that. I feel that.
That's great. But I guess because I see it from a standpoint of I've seen Dirk play and I've watched Giannis play. So in my mind, I always see it as you have to understand the eras that they're playing in. And Giannis is dominant in this era because there's no one that can match his speed with that size, and that's what makes him so dominant. And you can kind of, I wouldn't say speed and size. I would say no one could match Dirk back then with his shooting and skill wise. Because yeah, you had him. You could put KG on him, but KG was just rough and tough. But Dirk still had that finesse, and he'll still give you that little same little 1-2 shimmy, and you still get that fadeaway. And he's still gonna get it off no matter what. And like when we come to the accolades and everything, right? You gotta understand, Dirk is playing. He's playing in the era of Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, and all these dominant players, right? Giannis is one. He is one of the dominant players of this era because who else can match up with him? So really, in this era that he's in, because we're coming to the back end of the LeBron James era now, and it's kind of like Giannis, Jokic. It's kind of back. We're coming back to the big man era now. We're moving past the athletic guys, but now we're getting into the big man era, and that's either if they're super athletic or they're just technically skilled, as long as they're a big man right now. Because the past three MVPs have really been Giannis, Joker, and Embiid. So it's like you got to understand like the era that they're playing in. Me, I'm gonna pick Dirk. If I'm like okay with my team, like if I had to pick a team, I'm picking Dirk because he's gonna be able to stretch my floor, and he's also gonna be able to. He wasn't a superior defensive guy, but he played a little bit of defense, so that's good enough for me that I could have on my team. Giannis, my only liability is that he doesn't have a good offense. He doesn't have a good half court offense. He's only gonna be good when we're on fast breaks, or if he's cutting to the basket. That's my only thing. So me personally, I'm gonna pick Dirk always, and like the only time that's just because of my play style. And that's how I like my teams we played. But Giannis is one of the greats though, and he's up there. He's like you said, he's on the same level as Dirk, and I don't think he's surpassed Dirk yet. But he's on that level. But out of both of them, the best power forward of all time is still gonna be Tim Duncan.
I definitely agree with you on that last part. My bad, yo. Little horse. All right. No, I definitely agree with you on that last part. Tim Duncan, greatest power forward of all time. But I get your Dirk standpoint. I understand. All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think Giannis is a better player, but I think playing in that era versus you playing the Lakers with Kobe and Pau Gasol, Lamar Odom in their prime every season. You playing San Antonio with Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Mono Ginobili, like every season, like you're playing stacked teams. Like we got to think about what the West was back in that era. Like they was loaded from 1 to 8, loaded. Even Chris Paul when he was playing with the Hornets, like they was like it was basically like WWE No Way Out. Like you had bangers everywhere. So I think as far as career and playing against like a Wade in his prime in the finals, playing Miami, Big Three, LeBron in his prime with Wade, with Bosh in the finals. I think overall like a better career, I'm gonna give it to Dirk. But like just better player, individual talent, I'm gonna give it to Giannis. But like skill set, just the ability to do the things that Dirk could do at the full position, you can't take that away from him. I'm gonna give the skill to Dirk, and that's where I'm at with that.
The only skill that Dirk has that Giannis doesn't have is the
And
shooting.
that's
That's
a
the
big
only
factor though.
thing. There's nothing. It's because in terms of talking about resume, he ain't got no defensive player. He doesn't have. It's a difference in talking about running the
Yeah,
offense. Like
I give
he's
Giannis
got,
that part. I'm gonna give him that part all day. Defense on the defensive side, he's dominating Dirk.
but I ain't gonna hold, cause even G be bringing up the ball to play initiate too. We can't forget that Dirk. I can't remember a time where he brought the ball up and said, "Hey, yo, J kid, go
Different
post
era.
up." Like I don't remember that. But you know what I'm saying? But that's the thing though. Are we going to keep using a
Yes.
different era of
Yes, it is.
competition against each other? 'Cause I feel that's a little misleading. Like, you think like Kobe had all these guys in their prime and this and that. That's cool. But like, don't see act like what we got going on today is not competition either. Like, there's no longer the era where you had to have the superstar and have the
Who?
whole bunch of super role
Here's my
players
question,
around the
DJ
team
Rose.
like that. Like,
Who's
let's not act like Paul
who
Gasol
is
wasn't who he was.
Giannis's competition in
He was.
at his position right now?
I mean, he's still talking about with like KD, Braun, like Jason Tatum. You know what I'm saying? Talk at
KD
his possession
coming
being
up
the
on
forward.
age.
Yeah.
LeBron coming up on age.
I mean, it depends.
Jason Tatum don't even play his same.
It's so
Like
biased.
Jason Tatum don't even guard
Like
Giannis
that.
majority of the whole
Like
entire time. Al Horford guards him, and I'm about to say
that's
Giannis
on
plays as power
him.
forward majority of the time, and Jason Tatum's at small forward. So who is really actually Giannis's actual competition at his position?
If you look at how they play, he's a 3-4 because some whoever they got switched off on the other side is
Their
normally the
lineup
shooter,
is
right?
usually going to be Drew Holiday. Then they have I forgot the guy's name. Covington. I want to say it's Covington because I always want to say DiVincenzo, but it's Covington, and that's when they have Chris Middleton, and then they have Giannis, and then it's Brook Lopez. That's their lineup literally every single game. So who at the 4 is always going to be guarding Giannis? Who is his other competition at the 4 right now that's guarding Giannis?
Yo, pause. Not that type of pause. No, when you said DiVincenzo, I was wondering this whole time, like when he was playing for the Warriors, I'm like, where did this dude come
Yeah,
from?
he played for the
That's the same.
Bucks.
Oh, now I remember him. Okay.
Him and Covington
Yeah, he
literally are the
played for the
same exact
Bucks. Now I
person.
remember the guy. It just felt like he played different. It felt like he played differently between the Bucks and the Warriors. He felt like the Warriors he was doing like kind of like what Jordan Poole was doing the previous year, kind of just doing
Yeah.
everything. But then with the Bucks, it just felt like he was a shooter.
No, you're
So
good.
okay,
I'm about to say
that was
him
just a
and
quick brain fart and
DiVincenzo and Poole
realization that I
basically.
had
They
when
basically
you
were the
said his
same player,
name on the Bucks.
basically. But that's that's my only argument with Giannis was that I'm not saying he doesn't have real competition, but who's the second best power forward behind him in the league right now? Julius Randle?
That's very true. That's very true. He doesn't have a lot of power forward
It's not his
competition,
fault.
but hey,
But
that's
that's what I'm saying.
not his fault. That's the
I mean,
it,
it is.
because when he came in, I think it's the league's fault. I think it's the league's fault for not developing that position anymore. The league is now leaving that power forward position. But when Giannis came in, when the Warriors, I mean,
Think
not
about
when the Warriors, when Giannis came into the
it.
league, the power forward was still a very dominant position. But now it isn't, and I think that's the NBA's fault more for just not having
When
not letting that
goddamn
position be a top position anymore.
when KD went to the goddamn Warriors, we had Ryan Anderson getting max
Yeah,
contracts out here.
exactly.
We had Ryan Anderson and Kevin Love's out here getting max contracts. The whole league changed from that point on. So we're turning the age of some of the power forward, the stretch forward. Now you actually have to have an athletic, not an athletic big, or either an athlete or a shooter at the 4 position to open and space up the court. So now we're talking about something like where it's like positionless basketball, talking about position power forward. It's really kind of a dead conversation because positionless.
That's what I'm saying.
You
Giannis
The
got
is the
point
only
last
guards,
one.
power forward right now
like
that's
especially when you
I
really break it
guess right there behind Giannis is Julius Randle.
down.
Giannis is going to be the last true power forward that's dominant because the NBA is leading away from the position. Because remember, even earlier, you're listening to the podcast, but earlier this week, we in our group chat we were talking about how are we going to do the awards, and I was like, just all 5 positions. But the NBA is changing now to the point where that power forward position isn't really the same used anymore because now the only person that's really dominant is Giannis. And that's a huge gap between Giannis and Julius Randle. So I think it's also that does play a factor into why Giannis is so dominant is because he's still one of the few people in that position that can dominate. And when you use that position well, it'll just dominate because they don't have anybody to match up with him. So I get what you're saying compared to Dirk, where he had Tim Duncan, all the other people don't feel like naming right now, but
He's
it's a valid
always
argument
playing a
to it.
premier power forward in their
Mhm.
And I'm
prime
not
every
faulting
night.
Giannis for
Yeah.
that. I'm just saying, like, it just makes it hard when you
No,
try
no,
to
no, no,
compare
no.
that because
This the
like
NBA's fault.
his hardest competition on a given night. That if you want to see how would he play against Dirk, his I guess the only time you're gonna see that is if he play against Porzingis, because really that's really the only. I mean, yes, does Giannis guard Joker sometimes, but I feel like Joker is more his bag is deeper than Dirk's bag as of Dirk wasn't really much of known as a passer. He was more he just known as a scorer. He could shoot. He could keep you in the game as long as possible. So that's why I said Porzingis because that's probably the best you're gonna get. As a Porzingis ain't a huge uh point guard as of like passing wise, but he's just really known to score. So if you really want to see how he
What's good, Mel, man? You already know what's good with Rose, man. We're going back down to the spot bet, dog. This week, we got two recommendations for you, man. We got DC Legion of Heroes and we got Shazam 2, bro. Both them hoes on fucking HBO, bro. Shout out to HBO, man. They got some bangers out there. But I know it's real heavy on the DC tip, but hear me out real quick on these shits, bro. DC Legion of Heroes basically is talks about the origin story of Supergirl, her backstory of how she came to be on Earth, and the fact of what she's looking for her life going forward. We all know Superman and shit, how he came to Earth as a baby, got saved up by the old folk shit, you know what I'm saying? But Kara, Supergirl, she was actually like 21 type shit when Krypton blew up. So she got to grow up on the planet, got to experience the people, the culture. But getting off over there to the new planet and to Earth when the shit blew up, she's like, damn, Superman's a god. Everybody's doing something, it's alright, but this shit really kind of lame to me. Like, she basically felt that disconnect of saying like, okay, this is where you found a home, but it's not for me. My home is gone. And so to kind of bridge that gap, Superman takes on the task of saying, hey, I may know something to help you find where you feel you need to belong, that peace of mind, feeling like she's not just here to be here and be reminded of her losses and shit. So basically this movie is about her journey of self-growth, not self-worth, but more of saying that, yo, I'm just as good as my cousin. And honestly, as a black man in America, I understand that feeling. Truthfully, I'm 100. And if you really like got some time, it's like 90 minutes, really good movie. Like all in all, everything flows together really beautifully. You learn about a bunch of different characters you never got to see before, or if you have seen them like featured in other films, you just now finally get to dive into some of these characters, while also leaving Easter eggs for more. But you know how DC do; we never get the finished product. But continuing on, if you really like DC Legion of Heroes and how her story kind of comes up with saying like, yo, what you're saying ain't going with what my plan is, so fuck that. Check out that Young Justice on HBO too. It's 3 seasons, much of the same, but the only difference is instead of Supergirl, you got the sidekicks of the Justice League saying, fuck y'all, we want our own shit. Like Robin, Kid Flash, fucking Aqualad and shit. It's really dope. Check that bitch out. But going to the next film, going Shazam 2. Now, if you ain't seen Shazam 1 and Black Adam, all that shit's on HBO too. So you can catch up all the way through, watch all that shit together so you can understand what's going on. Not a hard field to get into. If you like amazing that new Spider-Man across Spider-Verse and all that too with Tom Holland and shit, you'll like this bit, bro. I'm not even gonna hold. Like, I didn't come in with high expectations of the movie, but they really took it off and modernized it and made it so how it would really look like if a teenage kid today would just wake up and that nigga has superpowers. Like, it's really cool when you get into it. That's the second recommendation. Both of them is on HBO, and also we got the Black Clover movie out there on Netflix. Check that shit out too. Uh, and then whenever you're ready, Mel, go ahead and start the clip for me, bit dog. This right here is not a show nor a movie yet, but this is an anime that's coming. Well, it's a manhwa, Korean manga that basically will be coming out within a year. We haven't gotten the official release date, but this is one of the very early trailers. And let me just say this: that I get chills looking at this every single time. The story, the premise of this world. Now we've all seen like Sword Art Online or different stories where someone like you go into a virtual reality or playing the game for your PS5 or the world being like a video game. No, in this shit, literally the world is a video game. Yes, there's niggas that's regular human beings like you and I that's still working for a living and shit, but it's also a thing where players are called hunters And these niggas are basically trying to figure out their ways to get stronger, find new quests or whatever. And they could specialize in different things so you abilities and stuff. They go from an S rank down to E rank. Typically for E rank, those be the grunts. Like you're stronger than average human, so you can do more when we come to construction and labor jobs and other tasks like that. But you're nowhere near good enough to actually kill and make no noise and shit. You know what I mean? So when coming into this man Sung Jong Woo is an E rank hunter. In his hometown, this man is known as the world's weakest hunter. And going into his whole story is trying to figure out why would he continue to be something if he constantly gets his ass kicked? Well, because his dad disappeared, mama in a coma, and he trying to figure shit out for him and his sister. And let's just say fate has a funny way of saying, hey nigga, you sure you want to die? And he realized, no, not really. I have shit to live for. And the best, I wouldn't even say the best, because there's so much about this anime that I feel is going to change the landscape in terms of what Americans typically think of when we talk about manga. We automatically say anime Japanese. Mon was Korean Japanese, but not Korean anime. You know what I'm saying? It's basically, from different culture, kind of the same vibes. There's Chinese manga out there too. But Korean manga, they colorized all the panels. There's no black and white. When you read it, you feel like you're actually like watching a movie or a show unfold in front of you as you're reading, scrolling through the pages or you're flipping through the pages. Beautifully illustrated. The time is put in. It's not rushed in terms nowhere near with the plot. Oh my God. When this comes out, it will challenge everything that we know about the top 5 animes that we know and love, like the Naruto's and Dragon Balls, because this will challenge all that we've grown accustomed to, growing to love, and giving us a new flavor or twist, introducing to a new wave. And hey, man, if you don't want to be the last one to catch on to this shit, get on that bitch. But back to you, Melly Mel, man. You already know what to do.